Whatever you say, sir. I'm sorry, something said something. I'll get down on my knees. Whatever you say, sir. Oh man, oh God, please. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what I've done. Your knees on my neck feel like a car, and it weighs a ton. Mama said there used to be days like this. My face milled into the gravel. I don't recognize my voice. Mama, mama, nothing, just babble. Pain hurling through my body, no recourse, no reprieve. The peril of colored skin, my family left to bereave. So if I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And that was a little prayer I used to say as a child. Thank you.
Miss Patricia, thank you so much. I hope you're staying warm over in Ohio this evening. I know it's cold over there.
Bridget. And also, if you do a show with Lauren Wayne, please call me. I need to be in on that.
We need to do that. We'll do that soon. We most definitely will do that. Next up tonight, what about Tiffany?
Hi guys, I'm Tiffany Wiltshire, and my day job is a high school English teacher. So I'm around books and writing all the time. And I thought that this would be a good way to kind of add just a piece of some of the things that I'm thinking. And then also I thought initially about a compilation of different authors, particularly African-American authors, because there's so few of them that I can utilize in my classroom. So this way my students can see not only just my little small piece of work that I entered, but they can also see a body of work by people who are in their community that are also writers. And I think that's so important, because I think kids sometimes see writing as something they attain to and they couldn't do. But if they see that there are people in their community that go to the same grocery stores with them that all still have things to express through writing, I think that's very powerful. So, and I'm really, really excited about the whole project.
Tiffany, thanks so much. Not only can Tiffany write, but she can also sing, and she can also do a killer makeup beat. So she has a lot of hats she wears. Next up, we have Bettina.
Bettina, you with us? Bettina?
Miss Bettina, you are live, my friend.
Hi.
Get that camera angle ready. There you go. You go ahead.
What's your question?
We're just introducing ourselves and you're telling everybody where you're from and the reason why you wanted to be a part of this project.
Okay, I'm Bettina Woodard Washington. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And the reason why I wanted to be a part of this project is because I've had awesome experience with Laura. I met Giovanna Bush for the first time by being part of the writing group. But I just wanted to be part of something that was going to be offering voices from a group of women that were speaking into the lives of others and making a difference.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your contribution to this amazing book that we're going to be talking about tonight. Next up, we have Sheena.
All right, did I do it? Thank you, Greg. Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you really well, my friend.
All right, all right. First of all, my name is Sheena Parson. I'm originally from Willingboro, New Jersey. Raised most of my life in Pennsylvania. I live in Harrison, Tennessee right now. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to Laura for including me in this project. The weight must have been heavy as the authors got together, piling their words on top of her. So I thank her. It was an honor for me to add my voice to this project because for many years of my life, I was led to believe that I had no voice. And when I found out that I did have a voice, I was led to believe that no one was listening. So to be part of this project was my protest. It was a stance to show the world that I can change, and change can start with one person. So if y'all don't mind, I want to let y'all know a little bit about me through spoken word. Dear Black girl, I've decided to rewrite my narrative, decided I'm tired of being strong. I've decided to emancipate myself from the parts of me that never belonged. Glancing back, watching you in my rear view, I don't want to cause offense to my friends by entertaining your pain. They wouldn't understand if I wiped your tears. I can't risk my friendships being strained. I can't chance not knowing their true thoughts if they ever saw us embrace. I can't reopen and soak in a wound I so desperately tried to erase. Don't you care that I'm bleeding out? I've nursed your wounds, but do you even notice mine? I'm trying to teach you how to love me like I love you, dear white friend of mine. All these years teaching myself how to forget, all the moments I talked myself out of my own skin, all the times I pretended that your jokes did not offend, a pile of regret until now I kept in. Every time you ignored me to entertain your friends who looked like you was a reminder that I did not belong. Every time you touched my hair like I was your pet, every time you made me uncomfortable in my brown skin, every time I let you say, you're not like the other Black girls. You never knew you were killing me like they killed my daddy, dear white friend. It took me over 30 years to realize I never needed to divorce myself. My pain was purpose for you to understand. Your ignorance may seem like a small thing, but respect for my father, I will demand. I am his only child. I know he wanted more for me. How you treat me is how they treated him before they removed him permanently. All I have left is his name. All I see are memories. I'm bleeding, white friend of mine. Look through my eyes so that you can see. I'm not asking you to feel. I'm just asking that you notice. When you bleed, I help. When I bleed, you lose focus. I never had the right to hide myself from you, and I apologize for making you feel comfortable all these years. I should have spoken up sooner. You may have had less fear, and I might have shed far less tears. When you hear me yell, Black Lives Matter, I'm not disregarding your worth. My father's life mattered, yet his body is the one covered in dirt. Why won't you yell with me? Yes, you and you and you, for the sake of humanity. Let's rewrite our narrative together. Let's structure positive legacies. Let's try to understand one another. No need to be undercover. Love speaks up. Silence speaks out. I hear the chains falling each time I shout. You say you believe God created us equally, yet you hush me when I speak. You say Jesus came to make us all free as I watch Black bodies hanging from the trees. Dear white friend of mine, understand what I teach. Don't despise my words. It's not division I seek. Blessed is the peacemaker, for that I seek peace. My actions are a reaction of the bondage. My words needed release. I've decided that I don't like my history because it started with pain. My friendships are null and void because they were founded on shame. I must get it out for the sake of clarity. Dear white friend, together we can begin a new history. I'm not blaming you, see, my history began with me. I should have never silenced my hurt and pain. I was blind, and now you see. Dear Black girl, I love you. Dear white friend of mine, I love you too. Beginning a new history is so simple to do. Let's talk. Sincerely, me, the Black girl.
Wow, Sheena, powerful. There you go. Oh my gosh, wow.
Thank you, Greg.
No problem. Last but not least, we have some other authors who are still logging in tonight, so we'll get to them a little bit later. But I'm going to introduce the person who's just like amazing in my book. She needs no introduction, so I'm going to give it up for Coach Laura.
Woo, I thank you guys. That was awesome, Sheena. I thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart, for trusting me with your word babies. You know, I tell people, you know, you trust with your book babies, but you guys trusted me with your word babies, and I do not take it lightly. You know, I've spent months poring over these words. I want to shout out to our editor, Shavana Bush. She's not going to be here tonight, but Shavana was, my right-hand person there, and we spent months and months going over these words. And so to hear you guys speak them out loud is just something totally amazing. But as you guys have heard, my name is Laura Brown. People call me Coach Laura Brown. I am a writing and publishing coach. Been doing this since about 2014. This is my maybe third collaboration that I've done, and they're really fun to do. I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio. Joined the military, so I've kind of bounced around, and my husband and I decided to plant our roots here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And for me, this project was it was a reading the room kind of moment, that as we were going through the pandemic last year, the racial unrest, the political unrest, and as I was looking through social media, I just saw all the anger, the bitterness, the grief, the hurt, and it was just it became overwhelming. And I know that writing can be cathartic. And so I thought, what better way to capture the moment of what was going on, to leave a legacy. And I think about, for those of you who were on here earlier, you heard some of the songs on our playlist, and a lot of them were from another generation, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, but the message almost mirrors everything that we're going through. And so just like those songs spoke to the times, and I'm not, comparing what we did to some of those iconic songs, but I would love for this piece, The Voices of the Edge, as somebody mentioned earlier, just a time capsule that you can read this 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and get a feel for what was going on in 2020. Just like you can listen to Marvin Gaye's song and figure out what was going on in the 70s, or Gil Scott-Heron and figure out what was going on when he wrote The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. You can read Voices from the Edge and figure out this is what was going on in 2020, whether it's 2050, 2060, or as long as books are available. The Voices from the Edge will be a lasting legacy for anyone. So that was my purpose for bringing all of these writers together, all of these voices together, just to share our different perspectives and about what we were going through with 2020. So I thank you all. I thank all of our guests for being here. I thank all of you who have already purchased the book. Hopefully you guys, if you have the book, you've had a chance to read through it, and we're going to open it up. Greg is going to lead us into some Q&A. He may have some questions of his own, but definitely if you guys have questions that you want to ask any of the authors there, please feel free to raise your hand. Anyone who asks a question, you get a spin on the wheel for some really awesome prizes. So I'm going to sign myself out here and hand it back over to Greg.
Sounds good, Coach Laura. It's time for Q&A time. So be sure to raise your hand. We'd love to see you. And guess what? We have some really cool prizes that we're going to be giving away tonight. So you don't want to miss out on the cool prizes. So all you have to do is ask a question. It's really easy. And we have a number of authors that you can ask questions to. And they come from all different walks of life and from different parts of the country. And I haven't seen anyone raise their hand yet. So I'll just go ahead and start first. I'll just ask a question. So first off, let's start with LJ. When you talked a little bit about, writing this book and it being therapeutic for you and so many of the other authors who are in this group here, when you talk about the therapeutic part, a lot happened in 2020. How did that help you to get your words out on paper?
Well, I published some other books, but this book, I was really feeling so emotional about everything that was going on. And for me, I understand about the racial situation and all of that. But one thing that I suffered with personally was being confined to the house. I am a super duper uber extrovert. So I fell into bouts of depression, but I still had to keep myself together because I came home and from working in Baltimore to homeschooling 3 kids. So 3 little kids. And so the whole situation, it was building up inside of me. And so I wanted to write a poem about it or something, but when this book came about, I was like, somebody else feel like I do. So it was very therapeutic for me.
And I'm looking in the comment section. Serena just asked a question, and she says, how long was the process from start to finish? Looks like Ms. Laura just answered it. You guys started in July and finished in December. So again, keep your questions coming in, raise your hand. I would love to call on you so we can bring you up on camera. So Dr. Miranda, for you, you're up in North Carolina. When you were going through all of this that we all went through last year, from George Floyd to so many other things that happened, having to be locked in the house, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. How did you handle all of this?
So I, again, am a psychotherapist, and I have 2 locations in Eastern North Carolina. So my husband and I celebrated our anniversary on one weekend, and then the next weekend we were kind of on lockdown. So I haven't actually been in my other 2 offices since last March. And so it created a whole new virtual world for me. So how did I handle it? I created something called porch therapy. I am a country girl who have now adapted to city living, but I still take the country girl porch. So I have a huge front porch, and I have a side porch and a back porch, and I have these 4 huge rockers, and I would just take myself on the porch every day and force myself to be what psychology calls mindfulness, just be in the moment, not to be angry about everything that was going on, but I had so much inside of me that I wanted to get out. So writing became my therapeutic tool. Just like I tell my clients, keep a diary, keep, something next to you, a pen and a pad. I began to write. So that's how I stayed sane. Porch therapy, rocking, cup of coffee, and my diary.
I love that. And Miss Pat, for you over in Ohio, you were telling us earlier that you have a son. You said Miss Coach Laura and her husband Wayne were there when your son was born. When you think about George Floyd and the Tamir Rice and the Trayvon Martin, considering you have an African-American son, to see what was happening in America in 2020, how did you take all that in, considering your son? That could have been me, could have been your son, could have been anyone.
It was gut wrenching to see these things live on television, knowing that that could have been anybody. And to put myself in the work that I've done, I cried a lot writing one of my pieces, watching these things on television. But how I kind of got through is I found a little hobby of barbecuing. Now, Laura and Wayne know that back then I could never cook, but I perfected my grilling skills last year. And that's kind of how I got through everything. And I made my sons call me or text me every day. Just, hey, you're alive? Okay, good. Just every day. They didn't want to do it, but they know mom's crazy, so they did it.
That's a good mama. That is a good mama. Thank you so much for your dialogue there. Also, we have Miss Cam over here. Cam Ashford, she has a question for one of our authors. Go ahead.
Yes, this question is for Sheena. I know that you have been a writer and spoken artist, and since you have become a woman of God, has that changed your perspective with your writing, your type of writing, or your emotional state of being when you are writing?
That's a great question, Cam. Quite honestly, yes, it has changed dramatically. In fact, it's changed so much when I go back and read my first book. I don't remember writing most of those poems. Once I came to the Lord and found out how he was the one that kept me through all the hurt and the pain all those years, starting from when I was a little child to now, when I realized that it wasn't just the hurt and pain that was highlighted, but he was right in the forefront of it. And when I really dug deep and saw the things that he pulled me up out of, I don't recognize that person anymore. And I write different. My writing is you can still see the pain that I've gone through, because I don't have to hide what I've been through. But the point is, the end of all my poetry, it shows that I've come up out of that thing. And, I just think that's real important. And to me, it just shows my own growth, and it makes me excited for the future, because I just know that as things happen in life, as long as we have breath in our body, we're able to have a good outcome and learn from those hurts, from those pains. Some of the mistakes are our own fault, but the Lord still covers us. And I'm just very appreciative. And I thank you for that question, because I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sounds good. And don't forget, we're going to spin at the very end of this session for the prizes for everyone who asked a question tonight. Ms. Cam, thank you for that question. Do you have another question tonight?
Not right. Well, I guess Coach Laura, you probably answered this before, but what kind of impact has this project had on you emotionally?
For me, it was just amazing to see the fact that, like I said, we all came from such different backgrounds, different places, different, we had doctors, lawyers, preachers, teachers, accountants, different people, all from different walks of life. And the one thing that struck me was our commonality with our experiences, that they were different, but they were somehow similar. That 2020 served as the backdrop to this whole thing. And once we all finished writing, we had a quick meeting. And one thing that all of us said together was, you know what, I didn't realize I had that much anger in me, that much hurt in me, that much grief in me. And so it was just impactful to see the timeliness, of this. And it actually turned out much better than I expected. Not saying I thought it was going to be a crappy thing, but just the unity of some of us have never even met each other before. Some of the writers I had never met before, but to see how 2020 just served as a backdrop to our lives, so that just made an impact on me in that way.
Has the project made a bond between or among the group, or special bond, for you all working on the project and networking and talking about issues and that type of thing?
I can speak for me, and I'll let the other authors chime in. Like I said, some of us knew each other, some of us didn't. Like I said, I've known, Patricia for over 30 years, and some people, I just met at my doorstep, like Tiffany, she came to pick up a book. That was my first time, meeting her, seeing her. But after spending months poring over her writing and the editing, it felt like, I knew her. There were a couple of people that, I had never met before. Mama, I call her Mama Sandra. I know her daughter. We were all stationed together in North Carolina, but just pouring over her words, I asked her, can I call you Mama Sandra? Because I feel like I have that particular bond with you. So I'm going to, I can speak for me, and the other authors can chime in and answer Cam's question if you like.
Okay, I will definitely chime in. Being the only guy in the group, that bond is interesting, because sometimes when we talk about gender roles, men think one way, women think another way, but yet in this project, we realize that no, it really has nothing to do with gender, but we all came through the same experience. Now, we may saw it differently, but it was just something for me as a man to read some of the words and be like, that's what I was thinking. And it was. So that bond is there because we have a common experience and we also have common feelings. So yes, that bond is there.
Coach Laura and Mr. Wayne Brown, thank you both so much. And Ms. Cam, thank you so much for your question tonight. Also, this next, we have another question.
No.
Sorry, I think I was muted. Now
I'm
I'm unmuted. Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Ms. Cam. I really appreciate it. Next up, thanks to Coach Laura and Wayne Brown for answering those questions. Next up, we have Dr. David Banks. He is in the room. We're going to unmute him now. And so, Dr. Banks, you have a question. I'm used to seeing Dr. Banks and Panera Bread between shows in the morning, but due to the pandemic, Greg Funderburg stayed locked up.
Hey, I know it. Great to see you, Greg. As always, great to see you.
Good to see you.
I want to say congratulations to all of the authors. Great job. I know the Browns very well, and Coach Laura is my coach as well. But I have a question for Chief Wayne. Chief Wayne, definitely as a man, ladies have a very good way to know what they feel, share it, and definitely take it to the next level and write it. But definitely as a man, you know, we're thinkers. So I wanted to know, how was your process, you know, taking what you had in your mind and putting it on paper from a male's perspective? So
Okay. Yes. So my process is, well, first of all, I'm a talker. I know that some of you probably, you know, I'm shocked by that. But yes, I am a talker. And one of the things that I would do is I would talk it out. I would take my iPhone and hit record and just talk it out. Talk out what I was feeling, how I'm processing different things. And so that the idea of getting it out, then that's when the chief part kicked in. Once I got it out, you know, I got to dissect it and I got to have it in a certain order. And that's where Coach Laura comes in, because while I think I know what I'm doing, that's why you have a coach, because a coach can go, not Wayne, everybody doesn't understand how they talk in Albany, Georgia. And so getting that out so that everybody can understand what I'm feeling, I can actually take you on a journey. That process definitely required a coach. Without a coach, I can truly say I probably would not be an author. I'm still a speaker, but I wouldn't be an author because I needed a coach to help me through that process. So as a man, I had to kind of step back and let my wife, you know, take the lead. And anybody know me, I love to be the leader, but not this go round. So I had to learn to follow. I had to learn to follow someone who I love, I trust, and I know. And so that process helped me get to where I am now.
You know, a good part of what, you know, Wayne Brown was just saying, it's all about give and take when it comes to relationships. And so that's always a good quality to have for everyone, you know, when they're in their relationships and in their, you know, friendships or whatever. Also, we have another author just joined us. Michaela is in the house tonight. So we're going to give Michaela an opportunity to introduce herself, what made her want to be a part of this amazing journey. Michaela's to the left. And then I got our friend Corey to the right. And so Michaela, if I'm not mistaken, you are, I think, the youngest person that was writing on this project. 12 years old, right?
I am, in fact, 12 years old. I'm turning.
I do my homework. Go ahead.
May. You know, hi, my name is Michaela. I'm originally from Pasadena, California, but I reside in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I wrote the poem Life of a Black Child that I would like to read to all of you. Don't worry about the dog. I wake up in my home, a home where I'm the only Black kid in my street. I get dressed in my black, purple, and yellows Lakers hoodies and ripped jeans, the flyest kid on the street. The way my long dreads fall on my face block bits and pieces of my vision. I kiss my mom goodbye and give my big brother a hug. The fear that it might be our last bubbles inside me like a shaken soda from family reunions. I walk down the street littered with football flags and leftover fireworks from 4th of July. I remember where I am. I'm not surrounded by my people. I don't see Pinky and Nisha riding their bikes with their brother DeAndre down my street. They're replaced by 2 white men walking across from me. Headphones and hoods pulled down to seem as non-threatening as possible. My hands shake at my sides. My thoughts run around like my little cousins at Auntie's house. I get to the end of my street. 2 men are gone. My heart slows down like a slave who just avoided Mass's whip. I walk back home and the scent of ribs, baked beans, and collard greens fill my nose. And I remember going to Auntie's house and filling my plate with the most soulful soul food. Me and my cousins in the backyard doing the two-step in perfect rhythm with each other. My family, a perfect blend of brown, black, and caramel. I don't just mean my blood family. I mean the boy whose mom and daddy was strung out on drugs, so Auntie raised him. I mean the girl who grandma babysat when she was a child. I mean my cousin's best friend. She has rhythm, so her Dougie hits the beat in unison with Auntie's, uncles, cousins, and friends. Through the pain, struggle, and sorrow, I'm a Black kid, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Lori, oh my gosh, you are so talented. And we met years ago when you were younger. I think you were doing little bracelets, and you're just so talented, so crafty and everything. What for you to be a young kid in the group, 12 years old, what made you want to say, I want to do this?
I guess what made me want to do it is the fact that so many people hear it from the adult's perspective of the mother who lost their Black child or the father who lost their Black child. They never really get to see it from the younger sibling standpoint. And I have 3 African American young brothers. So hearing it from the perspective of every day seeing someone who's my brother's age, it's like, that could be my older brother. I kind of just wanted to bring that perspective out there.
And I do want to apologize. I think I called you Corey. I meant Michaela. Sorry about that. As we, anybody, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. I'm going to ask another question here. We're going to go to Mama Sandra. Coach Laura was talking about you earlier and how she looked at you as the mother. When you think about all of your experiences in your lifetime, I'm sure you've gone through so much and you've seen so much, you heard so much from your parents and your grandparents. To see where we are today in 2021 and what we went through in 2020 last year, did that bring back any memories from like the 1960s during that time period?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, yes, the old saying that so many things have changed, yet so much has remained the same. And in my writing, Wake Up, I say, the ugly racism has raised its head again. That means that not much has changed in that area from the time we got off the boat until now. Yet we see some progress, but real change comes from within the heart. And that can't be legislated. That has to come from an inner change from Lord God Almighty, And 2020, the pandemic, it really, I think I was in a daze for about a month, just looking at what was happening in the world, and I was just amazed and saddened and didn't know actually what to do, what to think. I did a lot of praying and still do a lot of praying, but yes, we hope for change. We see some change, but we know that things can still be better.
So true. When we go talking to you, Mother Sandra, and going to Tiffany, you're an educator in the local school system here in Chattanooga. For you, 2020 was totally different for so many people across America. But I have to say, the educators were the real MVPs because you guys had to really, there was no playbook, no warning. It's just like, bam, it happened. And you're at home and you're having to navigate educating kids at home. And then it's, you're back in school, you're back at home. And then on top of that, everything that went on in 2020 with George Floyd and everything that happened for you as an educator in your school, predominantly Black kids that go to your school. What was that like for you the whole year for 2020?
I think it brought up a lot of issues that have been been issues in our country, but they were brought to the forefront that there's definitely a disconnect with those Black and brown students that don't have access to Wi-Fi, that don't have access to food. And I think it just brought to the forefront how much school is vital in the everyday life of a child. We don't realize that our kids don't eat until school is taken away from them and they don't get to eat. We don't realize, that every kid does not have a cell phone because the majority of them do. So with so many things that our kids lacked, and we still, even to this day, haven't bounced back from that. Because I know when it first started, teachers were looked at as like the heroes. And now, because school was out for so long, you got people that were like, they need to be back in school and the teachers aren't doing anything at home. And what are they getting paid for? But we were working the whole time, it's taking you completely out of your comfort zone. So I think, and when I was doing this, trying to figure out what I was going to write about, because I felt like I needed to do something so deep and profound, but my piece was mostly about how I'm addicted to the comment sections. And that's what I wrote a poem, like a stream of consciousness poem about what we grow through and what the things that we see. And towards the end of the poem was about, did my coworker just say that? I think it brought a lot of stuff to light for me about people that I thought were kind of on my team that weren't on my team, like people that I work with, parents, and you would see some of the stuff in the comment section and you are brought to light about how different people feel about issues, whether it's political, whether it was about the coronavirus, whether it was about education. And it changed the dynamic of a lot of my friendships because I saw things online from people saying things. And of course, everybody has a right to say their opinion, but I'm talking about stark differences to the point where I'm going back to work looking at these people like, really? So as far as education, it hasn't gotten back to where it should be. I don't know if we'll ever have a normal. I haven't given out a sheet of paper since, March of last year. Everything, even the kids that are at school, is still online because you can't do the same things with masks on and group work. So everything has changed. So I'm hoping we get somewhere close to normal, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I totally understand. And also, I have to say, from my perspective, from a news anchor, I never thought that we could do news from home, but we learned very quickly that anything is possible. And, moving from what Tiffany just said and being on social media, I see Wilson is in here. We'll get to Wilson in just a second. But Antoinette, for you, looking at some of the comments that people said in 2020 on social media, at work or in public, or people who you've known all your life, how did those comments make you feel getting to hear what people really felt, seeing and reading what they said online?
Right. Thank you for asking that. So for me, my experience was a little bit different because the friends and relationships that I have and look at on social media, they were pretty positive for the most part. I try to keep my circle small and try to weed out all the negative things. So I didn't really have a lot in my social media feed, but what I did do was I did find time to distance myself from the news. It was more the news articles and everything, every other tweet that Trump sent out and everything with the coronavirus as the numbers rose. That affected me more than the social media itself. So I could only absorb so much. And then I distance myself for a few days and then I go back in to see, what was going on. Because I do like staying informed, but sometimes it got overwhelming for me. And I also work in a school. I work at an elementary school. And I agree with what Tiffany said. It was very challenging. And with the younger kids, you don't know what they're hearing at home about what's going on. So you don't really know how they've been affected personally, because kids have gone through so much. And so since we've been back at school, we haven't given out much paper either, but I try to give them an opportunity to voice their opinions and talk about what they're feeling, because so many of the parents are overwhelmed that they can't take anymore, and they're not sometimes tuned in to their kids and what they're going through also because they just see their own struggle. So it has been challenging, and I do hope that, like Tiffany said, that we get to some kind of new normal. But I think we've learned a lot of lessons about what can be done when we work together.
You know, speaking of being in school, before we get to Wilson, Michaela, you're 12 years old, you're in school. So what has all of this been like for you?
Well, just to piggyback on what Tiffany has said, a lot of people that I thought were on my team, specifically one person who is a friend of mine's mom, she's always been very like, oh, my family's racist, but I'm not. My family does this, but I'm not. So when Trump first got elected, she was very pro-Trump, anti-mask, anti-Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, black the blue, and it was kind of just like, ooh, it's not where I thought you stood, but okay. Whew.
For me, it was, I'm just going to chime in, Michaela. For me, it was kind of strange that, you know, this is someone that I considered my friend, and someone that, you know, Michaela went to her house, Michaela hung out with her kids, and then to hear her say some of the things that she said, it was like, I mean, I don't know, it's like a punch in the face thinking, I trust you with my child. But then you have this kind of view. So I had to step back from that relationship and that friendship because you know, I guess in deep down, I mean, that's the way she felt. And, you know, that is hard. It's heartbreaking, I think that someone is your friend and then to find out that they just have a totally, completely different view is kind of a punch in the stomach. So, you know, to have that in one relationship and then, you know, like she was saying, like a whole school of, you know, probably teachers and colleagues that, you know, she thought was like, oh yeah, you know, friends, and to find out it's something totally different it's eye-opening and strange.
And also I want to ask a question to Bettina. For you, as an African-American female, to see this piece of work come together, but more importantly, you know, 2020 was a year of all pandemic and everything else that was going on. At the very end of the year, for an African-American woman, a woman of color, an Asian-American woman to ascend to the second highest office in America, what was that like for you getting that news on Saturday morning, November 7th?
You gotta unmute yourself, Bettina.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, for me, when Kamala Harris became vice president, you know, I said to myself, I said, we have overcome. You know, we have a Black woman, of a diversified Black woman of various ethnicities that have come to be the vice president. I smile with joy. You know, I was elated for you know, our country to be able to move in such a direction. So yeah, I was very happy to see that happen for her.
And also, as we move along tonight, we have another author to introduce. I want to make sure I get this right. Is it Natasha or Natasha Wilson?
Can you hear me? It's Natasha.
Natasha.
Yeah.
Go ahead, my friend. What made you want to join this team of authors to contribute to this?
I wanted to join for several reasons. One of them is I wanted to tell my story after becoming a survivor of trafficking. So I thought that would be a little like therapy, healing for me at the time to just get it out and express it. And the second one I wanted to tell my story is because I didn't see women that looked like me in my position. I know I'm not the only one that experienced in the sex industry or been trafficked. So I wanted to tell my story for other women that look like me that feel like they're not comfortable to tell their story because of they feel like they're the only one. So that's what made me want to join and tell my story.
Awesome. I love that. And also, we're ending the 30-minute session for the author Q&A but we do have some prizes to give away. So we're going to bring up Miss Cam, and she is going to spin the wheel or the virtual wheel. Miss Laura has the actual button to hit the wheel. And we have some great prizes to give away tonight. So let's go with it.
Before we go to that, Greg, I want to open it up to the authors of the book. I know this wasn't on the agenda, we're flexible, but for you guys, because Greg, they didn't see the pieces coming together until they actually received the book on their doorstep. They only saw their small, their little piece, and so they didn't see the whole thing until it came on their doorsteps. And so, for the authors there, I'm gonna open it up to all of you guys. What was your reaction when you saw the book on your steps? For those of you who had a chance to go through and read some of the pieces, are there any pieces that, stood out to you? This is your opportunity to just kind of share that. So you guys
let's go to
raise your
Debbie.
hand and
Thank you. So I am so glad that you asked that question, Laura. And I want to thank you too. I didn't thank you when I spoke the first time, but when I've known you for a little while and I haven't had the opportunity to work with you with the SWAT, but you did an amazing job putting this book together. And when I opened it up, it was so much more than I expected. It looks powerful, even on the inside, and as I read through the other authors' works, like you said, I felt a bond with them since we didn't really get to meet together. I was a little nervous about how my work would fit in with other authors that had been published before. And so I think that, like everyone has said, that this joint experience that we went through really came together cohesively in this book. And one of the stories that my friend Allison and I wrote together was Matilda's Table. And when you read that story, one of the items in the story is a pair of salt and pepper shakers. And when I opened the book to our story and saw that you had put salt and pepper shakers as the graphic on there, even though we had never talked about it, it just meant so much to me. And I'm just really grateful to have been a part of this.
And also, before we get to Sheena, I do have to ask you, Coach Laura, because I didn't know this. So literally you took the works of art and works of the wording from everyone, put them together in a book, and no one saw it until they got the actual copy on their doorstep. Was that intentional to do it that way? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I would be like, Lord, I gotta trust this woman that she's not gonna misconstrue my words. But you're a great woman of God. I know you ain't gonna do that. But what was that intentional?
Yes, it was intentional. As far as, when they turned in their pieces, they worked really closely with me and the editor. So they understood that we weren't mishandling their piece, but it was intentional for a couple of reasons. Is that I understand the pressure of comparison. And had I let everyone see the work in progress, they would have constantly been going back, second guessing themselves, comparing themselves to what someone else wrote. And I didn't want to have that pressure on them to try to compare or compete or say, oh my gosh, Miranda wrote this and I need to go back and change this. And so that was an intentional thing. I wanted everyone just to be confident in the piece that they wrote without trying to compare themselves to, someone else's writing. And, and I know that, the proclivity to edit forever, editing would have taken, because there were some times that, Shavonna and I was, okay, this is it. This is what's going in. We're not making that one more change. And I think that had I let everyone see the finished piece before it was actually finished, it would have been a lot of, maybe my piece is not that great, but I think keeping it a secret, everyone was confident enough about their piece that, okay, this is, this is what it is.
You know, turning now to Sheena, you told us earlier how you wrote a bunch of things beforehand. You had a book you wrote not too long ago before you're transitioning your spiritual world, and now this. What was for you to see the finished product? What was it like for you to see the finished product, considering what you had written years ago?
Well, Greg, that my last book that I wrote was in 2010. So it's been over a decade.
10 years. Oh yeah, 11 years.
Yeah. And I promised myself after I wrote that book that I would not write again. Reason being is because that book caused tremendous pain to people I loved. And I outed a lot of people in that book. So for me to work with such strong individuals, people who have been through their own life's experiences, and being able to open up those pages and seeing the innocence behind the pain of each individual author, for me, I thought it was amazing. I was more excited to read other people's pieces than mine. I will say that I have, there's a page in the book where Coach Laura put together for me that it's a silhouette of a little Black girl, and inside of the little girl's head is words that was taken out of my father's police report. And I only read the report twice in my life. So I was forced to go back and relive those things. And then once I got past my own pain and I started reading the other authors, I seen those same words from my father's police report repeated in other people's pieces. So I will say that there was a unity that was there before we even knew each other like that. Before we were able to read each other's pieces, there was already unity there. So I think that how Coach Laura put this together and the people that she chose to be in this thing I don't know how she did it, but it's amazing.
She is such a talented woman. And I have to ask you, Wayne Brown, you wrote a chapter in this book, Whose Fight Is It? You talked about your experience growing up in Albany, Georgia, and I can only imagine what it was like growing up in Albany, Georgia during your childhood. And just reading what you put in, when you think about what you went through as a child and what's happening now, like last year we went through George Floyd and so many other things that happened in America. What is this like for you? Because you're the only man in this group. So what is this like for you as a Black man to see what happened to you as a child and some of the things are resurfacing here years later?
At one point, it was very disheartening to understand that I entered the public school in 1967, and we were segregated. And we went through segregation, and we finally caught up with Brown versus Board of Education in 71. And so to go through that, and then to do work in my community, Woodmore Elementary School is one of the first schools that I started doing work in. I walked in Woodmore Elementary School, and it looked like River Road Elementary School that I went to. And that was very disheartening. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. We done turned the century, and the classroom demographics are still the same. And matter of fact, some of the report cards are still the same. So it was disheartening on one end, but on the other end, you have young people like Michaela, who's 12, who sees the world in a way that at 12 years old, I couldn't do that. At 12 years old, I was still, as long as I could play baseball, I was good. I wasn't really thinking about J.B. Stoner and those guys telling us he's gonna send all the colored folks back to Africa. It bothered me, but I didn't let that bother me. Why? Because I had so much other things to do. And so now to hear some of the rhetoric that I hear, it's disheartening, but I know that greater is he that is in us. And I really have to hold on to that. Greater is he that is in us than the knuckleheads in the world.
Sounds good. Also, Miss Patricia, for you, when you got this book on your front doorstep or in your mailbox, because you've known Coach Laura and Wayne Brown for over 30 years, when you got this piece of work, what was your first reaction when you were reading through?
I was really surprised. I mean, I hate to say surprised, like Laura couldn't put this together. It's not that. I didn't see it. I didn't know what to expect. And I was happy and surprised. It looked great. You know, everyone's pieces were heartfelt. And I liked it. I liked it. I even decorated one of my books.
I appreciate it. Also, I see Miss Bettina. She has her hand raised. So I'm going to unmute her. So, Miss Bettina, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to say the reason why I became part of this writing adventure, at first I didn't hear you the first time because I was muted, but I wanted to say when Laura approached me to do this virtual project, you know, I knew it was time for me to do another writing adventure and to be part of a time capsule of voices that was making a difference in history. So that's why I wanted to become part of this virtual project with Laura, and I had worked with her before. And like I said before, you know, she was very awesome to work with and I trusted her.
Awesome. Speaking of Coach Laura, for you, and so many people that were a part of this, they're talking about they trust you. What was it, you know, it's one thing to work with one additional author, or it's okay, I guess it's normal, I guess, to coach one person or two people or work with 2 or 3 people, but 15 people total, working with all of these different personalities. And I'm sure this was a great experience and a learning experience for everyone. What did you learn about yourself along this journey? Because when I have, like, even working in a TV newsroom, like 15 people, you know, there are a lot of personalities.
Well, actually, you know, when I first started doing the write coaching, I would do, you know, small group coaching, helping authors, you know, separately write, you know, a book on their own. And so I've done a couple other collaboration pieces, nothing to this extent. But I think one thing that, you know, I constantly learn about myself is the depth of my patience. You know, just because, you know, the editing process, you know, getting everybody to, you know, get the emails and get everything done on time and things like that. But the fact that I really enjoy doing this. I tell people think that, oh, you know, you're a writer, you're a writing coach, you must love to write, you must love to write. And you know, my big confession is that really, I'm not that big of a fan of writing myself. I am more passionate about helping other people get their writing out. And so while I do write, I can write, I think I am a pretty decent writer. That's not really where my passion is. My passion is helping other writers get their stuff out. And so as I was doing this, it just became more relevant. And I was going through a class. I'm in school right now at Southern New Hampshire, and I was going through a writing class while we were writing this book. And there was something that was, you know, said in the class that made me realize that, you know, that's my purpose. This is where I'm at. I am a writing midwife, and to be able, like I said, you know, I call people book babies. You know, people gave me their word babies, and just like you trust a doctor or a midwife with, you know, your babies come out of your womb. The fact that these people trusted me, you know, some people who have known me for years, some people who have only known me through an email or a Facebook post, that they trusted me. And so I never take that trust lightly, because I understand how important and how personal, you know, words can be. When I think about Natasha and, you know, her sharing her testimony about, you know, the sex trafficking, and, you know, we really had to whittle hers down, because I told her story was just way bigger than the 1,500 you know, word limit that we were given. And so we really had to figure out how to whittle her story down. But, you know, she trusted me, she trusted Shavonna, you know, with that very personal thing. And so, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm honored and I'm humbled that, you know, to hear people say, you know, I trust her. I see in the chat, you know, I trust her. And, you know, I don't take that trust for granted. Don't take it lightly. I never will.
And Natasha, for you to hear Coach Laura say, you know, you came with a big piece of work and then having to whittle all that down. What was that like for you working with her to take your big story and bring it down to 1,500 words, in your opinion?
It was difficult because that was the first time I ever told the story, ever since I became a survivor. So once I started writing about it and getting it out, like I said, it was therapy, and I just wanted to get it all out. So I was like, this is my opportunity to get it all out. I was just like, I want to get it out. I don't want to shorten it. I want everybody to know what happened. So for back and forth, she let me know that it still would be out, but it's just going to be in compact. And then I had to learn, like, okay, so maybe I need to start with baby steps. Since I got the story out, I shouldn't be just like, let's go, get it out. I want everybody to know what happened. But how would I would have felt once I got it all out there and the book was open and people was going to start getting. So I think I'm so glad that she gave me the idea to shorten it and see how people reaction is with the 1,500 words. So just in case I do want to do on my own and have my own book, they'll be ready for more. So I'm glad we compromised on that. So I'm excited.
And when you talk about sharing your story for the first time, why now?
Because when I'm from Las Vegas, so when I came to Chattanooga, Tennessee after they rescued me, I was always going to different organizations, and I never seen somebody that looked like me. I'm don't have problems working with my other counterparts, but I wanted to talk to a Black woman experience. And every time I went to different organizations or trafficking programs, it was no one that looked like me. Or when I was into the shelters or the women group homes, I was seemed like I was the only one. I also wanted to tell my story for my son. My son was a young and he was tracking and he didn't have that was by him as well. So I was thinking, like, maybe if I start the trend, get it out there, others will follow. So I just decided to do it. I can't complain about something that I'm not going to stand up for.
Good for you. Good for you for sharing your story. I can hear you now. You were going out a little bit there, but we got you at the end. Also, Dr. Miranda, for you, I'm just going to be the last one for this Q&A session. So for you, when you with your expertise and everything that you have gone through in your life, but also your Dr. Miranda and the things that you've seen, when you saw this book come up and you started reading through, what were your thoughts?
I actually shared that with Laura. I told her it's not at all what I expected. And then I think somebody else said that too, that they weren't expecting it to be bad, but I was just so pleased and really moved by the stories, captivated by them. Actually, it took me a day to read the entire book. I couldn't put it down. And actually I sold my whole box and I was kind of angry because I don't have any copies yet. So I had to reorder some, but I was really moved and I was in awe that it was so excellent. I mean, it was very excellent. So you always want your name to be attached to something that's really good. I do. But this is excellent. And everybody that has purchased a copy from me has said, wow, this is really, really good. So I was just pleased.
Also, we have Cam and Dr. Banks. They were our question. They asked some questions to the authors, so they're going to get to spin the virtual wheel tonight. So, Ms. Laura, I'll let you take it away on how the virtual wheel is going to work.
Well, we only had a few people who actually raised their hands to ask us any questions, and so we're just going to go with that. Just to let you guys know, there were a couple of authors who could not make it. Stephanie Dickert was one, and Renee Brown Moser was another. And I wanted to kind of mention that you see a lot of, African-American faces here. And I want to commend Stephanie, because, she was the white chick of the crew. And, somebody had asked when we were doing the initial meeting, can white people do this? And I was like, this wasn't a color-bound thing. And so she stepped up to the plate. And for those of you who have the book, I don't know how many people on this call actually have a copy of the book. If you don't have a copy, please get with whoever the author is, on this call, and get with them about how you can get a copy of the book from them. If you don't know anyone personally, you can definitely go to Amazon.com and get the paperback. You can get it on Kindle also. But this wasn't a Black project. It wasn't a feminist project. I sent it out to everyone on my email, and some folks, for those who answered the call. And Stephanie, she did Fabric of America. And it was just interesting to hear her perspective amidst all of the Black voices, to hear her, put her voice in there. And she did a really interesting piece, for that. And Renee's piece, she did a really good piece that talked about not so much Black and white racism, but how sometimes prejudice can look like you. So you call it mirror, mirror. And she just talked about her experience, not so much racism or prejudice coming from someone of a different color, but how do we deal with when we are prejudiced towards people who look like us. So another really good piece. And I just kind of wanted to mention them in there. So before I spin this wheel, we have Serena Robbins, who will get a spin at the wheel. We have Cam Ashford, and we have Dr. David Banks, who will get a spin on the wheel, because they were the ones who asked us questions there. So let me pull this wheel up here. I gotta find it. No, hold on, guys. Greg, ask another question while I pull the wheel up.
Sure, no problem. You know what? Speaking of that, we got another game coming up after this game here, after we spin the wheel, and it's going to be really good to tell the truth. You don't want to miss that. Also, I have to start with you. Go over to, for you, Sheena, when you look at, just everything that you've gone through in your life, from your life before your spiritual walk now, how have you seen your life change in so many ways since 11 years ago when you wrote that first book?
Wow. I feel almost invincible, if I can use that word. I know it sounds crazy, but when you're little and you have no type of fear at all, and you think you can jump off of a building and you'll be okay. I feel that. I feel, and I have the evidence that Jesus has kept me all these years. That if I didn't have that common sense, I would jump off of a building and tell you that I would be fine. I just think I can conquer anything, because the Holy Spirit is a lamp unto my feet, and he directs my path. And I would never say I would take back or regret the things that caused me pain in my life, because I wouldn't know the Lord like I do now.
Amen. That is so true. LJ, for you, when you look at the final product, did you have any regrets? Did you have any moments where you said, I should have said this, I should have said that, or were you pleased with your work?
I was thankful that you spoke the words that I wanted to speak. There were some stories in there that were so on point. I was like, golly, thank you for saying that. I wanted to say that, but I had my own stuff to say. So I'm thankful that Lord did things the way that she did, because I might have been one of those people that would have brought out a little bit more of the anger that I felt. But somebody else, by us being in this group together, I felt their pain, and it's on print, whether I said it or they said it, it was said. So I appreciated that.
And Tiffany, for the emotional connection to this book, did you find yourself in different emotions when you were going through everyone else?
I think most of the time, like I said, my piece was a stream of consciousness of what it felt like every day when I roll over and check Facebook. And not only me going to And I would check the comments under, News Channel 9. And it was like a train wreck because I knew I shouldn't do it for my mental health, but I just had to see, was it somebody I knew under there that was gonna say something crazy? You know what I'm saying? Or that what I thought was crazy. So I felt myself to the point where my husband would be like, and that was the title of it. He was like, stop checking the comments. Like, you need to get out of the comment section. I was like, no, I have to look. And, and I screenshot it and send. I think everybody does that. And I could be the only one, but I know, and I screenshot stuff and send it to someone. And I'm like, did you see what someone said? I can't believe they said that. And these same people, like, again, I have to go to work in 20 minutes with that person that made that comment. And like I said, with the stuff on social media, it doesn't go away. So it wasn't like, it doesn't go away. And so we're open to seeing these things, and it just some of the things that people are just so fluid to say, and it's there forever and you can't deny it. It almost just, it gives you a perfect picture of people's thoughts that you maybe thought the same way you did that definitely do not.
And I will say, speaking of like, not just the place where I work, but other people's social media pages, even my personal fan page that I have when I post stories, some of the comments people would say, and even people who I know and grew up with back home in Alabama, I'm that person. I can't comment because I work in my industry and I can't make comments publicly. So I would screenshot it and send it to some of my friends and say, did you see what she said? I was that person too, so I understand. So I'm right there with you guys. So let's spin the wheel. We got first, and by the way, Miss Serena, I'm sorry, I left your name off my little notes here. So we're gonna start with you.
All right, so Miss Serena, let's see what we're gonna get for her.
A free pair of earrings.
You get a free pair of earrings. I don't know if you're in the Chattanooga area, but if not, we'll send you to the website of Beatrice Conley. She's opening up her bridal studio next week. Unveiled Bridal Studio. I think it's somewhere in downtown Chattanooga, but she's going to offer a free pair of earrings. And so we will give you the gift certificate, and you will go to the website. You can make an appointment. If you're here in Chattanooga, you can make an appointment to actually have a personal experience with her. You don't have to buy a wedding dress or anything, but you will get your earrings. If not, you will be able to do it online. So you get the free pair of earrings if you make sure in the chat box, for me personally, put your email in the chat box so I can make sure to get that gift certificate to you. Okay.
Sounds good. Next we have Miss Cam.
Yay. Miss Cam, you have won a Silent Scream flip book. Our author, L.J. Crawford, she wrote a book a few years ago called Silent Screams, The Power of Healing Through the Written Word. And so you are going to get a free flip book. It's a beautiful flip book of the entire book. Please put I think I have your email, but go ahead and put it in the chat for me. And then I will send you the link and the password to get that book there.
And next up, and last but not least, Dr. Banks.
And Dr. Banks, you have won a Main Street Monday flip book. This is another collaboration I did with a local poet named Erica Roberts. She did a workshop back in 2017, I think, where poets came together, and she was kind of reviving the muse. And so I had this, crazy idea. Why don't we all just take our work from that class and make a book? And so you have several local authors. You probably know mostly all of us, Dr. LaRonda Jennings, Erica, myself, and a couple of other people. We put these poems in this book. And so you are going to get a Main Street Monday flip book, and maybe it will maybe spark your poet muse in you. I know you like to dabble in a lot of different things, and so maybe artists, art and things like that. And so maybe reading this book of poetry will cause you, in the midst of everything else that you're writing, to maybe even do a book of poetry. So I will
Excellent.
make sure to
Thank
get
you.
that link to you with the password.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Lady Laura.
You're welcome. I think that was it, Greg.
That was it, Coach Laura. I have to say, you showed out with this, and you had the sound effects for the claps and everything. I love it. We're going to move along tonight to Tell the Truth game, and this is going to be a fun game. So we're going to have 3 people. I need 3 people to volunteer. This is going to be Antoinette, Sheena, Corey, and Miss Laura. So basically, what we're doing is we have 3 guests. You will get an opportunity to ask 4 questions to the panel of authors who possibly wrote the Dear Don letter in the book. And it was on page 169, if you haven't checked it out.
And Greg, you may have to, if you don't mind, because I don't know how many people actually have the book. And so can you just go ahead and read that for us, if you don't mind?
Sure.
And well, before you start. And so I really didn't know who had the book and who didn't. So I'm going to change the rules just a little bit, Greg. I'm sorry. And so I'm just going to have you read it. And as Greg reads it, and when he finishes reading, I want you guys to put in the chat which of the authors you think, you can ask us questions. It was me, Sheena, Antoinette, and Corey, I believe. Right. So you can ask us 4 questions, and then you just kind of write in the chat, who do you think wrote the book? And we have a lot of prizes on the wheel, so we can actually open it up to more people. So Greg, can you go ahead and read that for us? And this, in the book, it's anonymous. So, this particular person decided not to share their names, and so we're going to make it fun. So go ahead, Greg.
Here we go. It's Dear Don. Dear President Donald J. Trump, America interviewed several candidates for the office of the presidency. We regret, well, not really regret, it just sounds better to inform you that you have not been selected to return for a second term at this time. We found you could not meet certain eligibility standards. Your candidacy is no longer under consideration. The majority of American citizens decided to offer the position to another candidate better suited for the position. In other words, we just are not attracted to you in that way. We are concerned with your flagrant display of narcissistic tendencies, your repulsion of those who may disagree with you based on experience, research, and science has been duly recorded. This position also requires the applicant to have an attention span longer than a tweet. For future references, we require someone with more time management skills than we have seen displayed. We're somewhat appalled, but not surprised about the time and resources you squandered making a mockery of the election process. We know that this was difficult and time.
Oh, he stopped on us. Is it just me, or did he stop moving?
He stopped.
Too.
Oh no.
I'm sure you will find another person.
Hey Greg, your video stopped after I think the time spent. You said something about time spent. So you need to go back. Your video just stopped on us.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I tell you, this virtual world is something else. Let's see. Okay. The majority of American citizens decided to offer the position to another candidate better suited for the position. In other words, we just are not attracted to you in that way. We are concerned that your flagrant display of narcissistic tendencies, your repulsion of those who may disagree with you based on experience, research, and science has been duly recorded. This position also requires the applicant to have an attention span longer than a tweet. For future references, we require someone with more time management skills than we have seen displayed. We are somewhat appalled, but not surprised about the time and resources you squandered, making a mockery of the election process. We know that this was difficult and time consuming and cut into your precious time on the golf course. We wish you every personal and professional success with your next endeavor, as long as it doesn't include holding a political party hostage to elementary Twitter temper tantrums. We're sure you will find another position to exercise your gift of political demagoguery to coddle your ego. Perhaps there is a remote island in dire need of a leader who sees himself as the best thing since sliced bread. There may even be peanut butter and jelly available to sweeten the arrangement. Thank you again for your interest in our country. Regards, over 80 million American voters.
So after hearing that, do you guys have any questions for either myself, Sheena, or Corey, or Debbie, to try to figure out which one of us wrote that piece? Or if you think you know, you can put it in the chat to everyone. Any questions to kind of figure it out? Or you guys, if you guys think you know, put our name in there. Serena said it's Debbie. Sylvia says Laura. Lisa said Laura. Greg thinks it's Corey. Dr. Miranda says Laura. Cam says Corey. Sarah says Corey. Anybody else before we reveal who it is? For those who said who, let's see, Sarah, why did you say Corey? Any reason?
I really feel like just watching her face right now and smiling so much that it was telling a lot. But you know, I think that the sarcasm was not lost, and the humor in with it was that's why I thought that.
Okay, for those who said Miss Sanders, so you mean Wayne didn't write this? For those who said Laura, somebody tell you why y'all think I wrote this.
I just want to say why I think it's my mom. See, the peanut butter and jelly reference, for anybody who knows her, that's her favorite thing to eat. So, and she's also very sarcastic, so I think it's you. I think you got this time, Mom.
So for those who said Laura, why so many people think I wrote this thing?
I'll go because you're very diplomatic. This is Lisa LJ speaking. You're very diplomatic in your choice of words. And so I think that you can say a whole lot and people are wondering, did she just cuss me out? So that's what that kind of sound like, you know?
That is factual statements.
That is facts, LJ.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm like a paper cut, right?
I will say this, Coach Laura, when I interviewed you about this a couple weeks ago on my Facebook Live show, I normally tell people, I say, hey, just don't drop any F-bombs, we're good. And so I was telling Sheena about this because we had talked the other day. She'd reached out to me about something else. But I remember when we were in the interview and I had read through the book and read some of the chapters. And one of the chapters stood out to me, the B word. And I just said, I know she's not going to say that. And we were on the live and she said it. And the look on my face was like, did I just hear Coach Laura say that? That's what I was thinking. And then one of my friends called me afterwards. She says, your facial expression was like, yeah, I agree with you, but let me fix my face so I don't let. I thought it was hilarious.
You didn't give me that briefing before we started. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Trust me, you're fine. It's Facebook Live. It's fine. It's just I thought it was so hilarious, but so bold of you writing that particular chapter of the book. I thought it was just phenomenal in what you said. And so for you to say it out loud, I didn't expect it, but it gives me a different perspective, because a lot of times we think people are one way, but they're totally different. Like even this piece of work where we're gonna find out who wrote Dear Done. We're looking at 4 different authors and we don't know who it is, but it's just you have a perspective of people, and then you get the insight when you find out later on, when you dive in to see who they really are. And you found out about a lot of you that wrote different pieces in this book by just reading the different chapters, what's really going through your mind, because we all walk and we have a smile and we, put on our facade and go to work, but then you see what you guys wrote and you get to see how you feel. That's so important.
So are you ready for the big reveal between Sheena, Corey, Laura, and Debbie? So I'm going to ask the 4 of us to put your video on mute, or go ahead and stop your video, and we'll kind of blink our videos in and out until you guys figure out. So 1, 2, 3, cut your video off. So who wrote it? Cut your video back on if you wrote the piece. Who wrote it? Who wrote it? Who wrote it? All right, the real author is gonna cut their video back on, and we're gonna leave it on. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay, it was Laura who wrote it. And you guys got me pegged. And I thought it would be fun to do that little anonymous piece. So I was kind of doing some forward thinking to the launch when I made it anonymous. It's not that I was ashamed of what I wrote, but I was just thinking to add a little mystery to it for our readers. Like, oh, I wonder who wrote that piece, and to kind of get with it. So let me see, everyone who said Laura, I'm gonna write your name down here. Sylvia said Laura. Greg said Laura, and you guys are going to get a spin on the wheel. Cam, Sarah, and I'm just kind of getting your names down here. The authors, you guys are not going to get it on the piece. And Jennifer, just because you said whoever, amen. So we're going to go to the wheel really quick and do a spin. Then I have a special announcement. All right, so Sylvia Banks is going to be up first. Let's see what she wins. Lady Sylvia, you get the Silent Screams book also, so that's cool. I think Dr. David, you got the, okay. And who would he have next? We have Greg. Let's see what you win. Oh, Greg, you get a, Greg, you get a brand new ebook that I just wrote specifically for this particular event here. It's called a Creating Calm ebook. It's an ebook, but it's going to be a flip book, but it's 30 days of creating calm. And I thought in this, and all the things that are going on, we could all use some different advice on how to create calm. So you're going to get that link to the flip book there. Let's see, Cam, you get another spin here. Let's see what you get. Cam, you have won a free 30-minute coaching session with Dr. Miranda Pearson, and you are in for a treat. So I'm going to send you the gift certificate for that to redeem with Dr. Miranda for a 30-minute coaching session with her. Next up, we have Sarah. Sarah, you get a $10 gift certificate. Wayne Brown has offered that for you. And so we're going to make sure you give us your email. If you're here locally, we'll make sure to get that to you locally. If not, we'll mail it to you. And then Jennifer, just because you said whoever did it, amen, I'm going to get you a spin on the wheel. And so, Sarah, you get a 50% off DJ services. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you another spin just in case you don't really need DJ services. And so you're going to get that. And I'm going to give you another spin just in case there's something that, you know, and so you get this. You get the Creating Calm ebook too. And so I'm going to stop the share. And so why I did that is that, you know, somebody might not, you know, if you need the DJ services, that's great. I'm going to make sure Debbie Kelly, she's a DJ. Bet you guys didn't know that. You have a DJ, DJ, play that song. And so she has she does DJing service. So definitely she will get with you to get the information for that. Go ahead and give Debbie in her chat box, send her your information, your email, so she can get in touch with you with that. So, you know, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg in just a minute, but I do have a special announcement. You guys have heard just how much fun that we've had with this project, this collaboration project. And, you know, I enjoy doing it. So just to let you guys know that there is a collaboration project for 2021 that I am going to be launching starting in March. It's going to be called Scary Stories, not scary stories, but Scary Stories. And it's due to be released in October. And this is going to be a collection of stories about our scars, our wounds, but not just telling about our wounds, because the subtitle is telling our stories from the healed side of brokenness. So it's not just going to be about, oh, I was hurt, oh, this hurt me, but about the victory that we got out of it and what you learned from it and what other people have learned from it. So definitely it's going to be similar to this project where we're going to probably limit it between 15, 20 authors at the most. There's going to be an information session next Thursday. If you're interested in that, please go to www.coachlaurabrown.com and you'll see a button on that webpage where it says Scary Stories information session or something like that. Go ahead and click on that to register for that, and you will get information as far as the Zoom link, but it's going to be next Thursday at 7 o'clock. If you say, oh my goodness, I'm busy that time, I can't make it, go ahead and register anyway, because it's going to be recorded, and then that way you'll have the information. So definitely, if you would like to be a part of a project similar to this, you have your opportunity. We're going to start in March, and we're going to release it in the October timeframe. So kind of with the theme of Halloween and scary stories, but these are going to be wonderful, encouraging, victorious stories, and it's going to be called Scary Stories. I already have the book cover kind of created, so that's our visual, and I will show you guys during the information session. But definitely www.coachlaurabrown.com, and on that page you'll see the Scary Story information session, and you can get all the information about the when, the where, the how much, and how this is going to take place. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Greg.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Coach Laura. Again, you can go to our website, coachlaurabrown.com, and to be a part of that project. I'm sure it's going to be a great project. Looking forward to that coming out later this year in October. And as we wrap up tonight, any final words? Any final words for you, Coach Laura?
Just once again, I just thank everyone for adding your voice to this project. Like I said, don't take it lightly. For those of you who have purchased the book, I thank you for your support. If you have not purchased the book, you definitely want to do that. Contact whichever author that you know. And then that way you can purchase the book from them. And one thing that you're probably that I know we didn't talk about, but I told the authors when we first started, is that not only that I want this to be a project that they can be proud of, but I want it to be a project that they can, put into their portfolio and say, hey, I'm an author of this book. But it's also a project where they actually get to make a little monies on the side. And so when you purchase directly from that author, they get the profits, from that. If you go to the Amazon.com, that month, the profits from that or the royalties will come to me. And so I tell people, I really want you to purchase directly from the author who so that they can, get the proceeds from that. Because once again, I'm all about helping authors. I'm all about, pushing people to do whatever it is that they need to do. So that's also, part of my passion too, is, making sure people have, pathways for provision, those streams of income. I love seeing that. And so now being a part of this project, they will always have, they've added another stream of income to their portfolio for as long as, the project lasts. So that's something that we'll talk about for those who are interested in doing the next project. Someone said being able to speak at events. So yeah, definitely this is something that you just add to your portfolio. So thank you guys for trusting me.
And again, thank you to all of the guests for joining tonight. Thank you to all the authors for your months of hard work and to see all of this come to fruition in this great book here that you guys have put together. And as we wrap up, any one of the authors have any final thoughts as we wrap up?
I would just like to give Laura a round of applause for being so open to help us through our processes. When I wrote Silent Screams, I cried the whole way. And when I finished the book, I was able to talk about it without crying. So that came also with some side counseling from her. So she is, you don't put people on a pedestal, but when you give honor where honor is due. And so I really appreciate that. And I appreciate Wayne Brown. Their home is so peaceful. And what you see right now, that's just who they are. And I really appreciate that.
Anyone else?
Hi, Michaela wanted to say something.
I just wanted to thank Laura and Wayne Brown because I moved here when I was 3 or 4, and they've really been the grandparents that I never really had. So I thank you for being that figure and showing me what a really flowing and calm and peaceful marriage is. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, what she said.
Awesome, Michaela. Anyone else?
Yes, Greg, I just, besides, loving, I love all y'all authors. I can't wait to actually hug on y'all one day. And Laura, you already know you're amazing. It's just an honor to be able to be a part of something so great. But I really want to give Michaela her props because she really got in there with us grown folk. And she is an amazing, amazing young lady. And reading her words, everyone's words impacted me, but coming from a child, from a 12-year-old, man, the world better watch out. That's all I got to say.
Tina, thank you so much. Miss Patina, go ahead.
Okay, hold on. Oh, yeah, I just want to say it's been more than a pleasure working with the ladies virtually. And I look forward to when we all can come together naturally beyond this pandemic.
Awesome. Anyone else tonight?
Yeah, this is Corey. I just want to echo what Lisa said. I just want to thank everyone for you guys' input in the book. I'm like her. I just sat on my bed and read the book, and I think I didn't go to bed till about 1 or 2 that morning because I wanted to finish it. But again, thank you, Laura, for just being such a fearless leader and just doing all the things that you do. I just want to say I appreciate you, and yeah, I'm gonna be over about that chair. So
Absolutely. Be over there for a second.
Miss Sandra, you want to have some final thoughts?
Tonight, you did a wonderful job, including all of us. And Coach Brown, you're just a wonderful, sincere person. And the way you put that book together was just superb. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, my friend. Anyone else?
Greg, I want to thank you for agreeing to do this. You are really such a great supporter. Not just this, but in the years past, every time Wayne and I have come to you and saying, hey, we got this book here, we got this, like, hey, come on the show, you guys come on the show. I don't think you've ever said no to anything that I've asked. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, to do the Facebook Live that you did with us, and just for your support for me and for Wayne just over the years. And so I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this for us tonight. You've done an excellent job being our host with the most. And so, I think you deserve a round of applause also. Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. And I just want to say that every time Coach Laura would come on the show, she would always say, when are you going to write your book? And it's gone on for years and years and years. And so when the pandemic happened, I had a little extra time on my hands. And so I've actually written a children's book. And so I'm going to be working with her very soon to get that out at some point in 2021. So after all these years of reading to kids and reading someone else's book, I can finally take my own children's book and take it to schools and read it there. So this is the first time I've talked about that publicly. So you guys got the exclusive tonight.
All right, Greg has been bitten with the bug. All right.
And you just added about 25 accountability partners.
Exactly. Right. Every time we see you, Greg, you got that book out? How we doing? What we doing?
Illustrations going. How you doing?
Everybody gonna be in your inbox. Okay, Greg, where the book, Greg?
And I have a date in my mind, so I'm gonna get with Coach Laura the next week or so, and we're gonna work on some things and finishing up with the illustration. So it's been a journey. So I just want to say, to hear your stories and how you guys have poured your hearts out is just inspiring. And I just want to commend you guys for your hard work, being so honest and so open, and being brave and being bold, because what you did is just extraordinary. Because everything we went through in 2020, when people look back on 2020 and everything that folks went through, people can always grab this book and pick it up and hear what so many people went through during that time period. And it was over 100 years ago, we had another pandemic. And so now we have so many different stories from all of you guys that have come together to write this. So I just want to commend you for your hard work. And if there's anything I can do for you, your future, if you want to come on my online show, look me up, Greg Funderburg, on Facebook with the blue check mark. So I'll be glad to talk to you guys about that. If we have anyone else want to say anything else before we wrap up?
I think that's it. And we are going to, for those who, I want to start at 9 o'clock like we promised. Wayne is going to queue up. We created a playlist, Greg. We call it the Voices from the Edge soundtrack. Some of us who were on here earlier, you were listening to some of the pieces from that, but we all kind of chimed in a couple of a couple of songs that kind of represented maybe some themes of the book. And so we're going to take us out. Wayne's going to, I don't know if you're going to show the YouTube videos or just play the sound. It doesn't matter. So, you guys are free to, to hang around a little bit if you want to listen to some of the music from the playlist. So thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you.